Kia ora, good evening. Prime Minister John Key has indicated that he would travel to China if needed in light of the Fonterra Way contamination scare. Foreign Minister Murray McCulley and possibly Trade Minister Tim Grosser will visit China in the next few weeks. Mr Key says he would make the journey himself if required, and there would be ongoing dialogue between himself and Chinese regulators at a prime ministerial level. Overnight, a ship containing infant formula was intercepted in the Tasman Sea in an effort to prevent the product from making it onto shelves. Health authorities in Saudi Arabia, Vietnam and Malaysia are considering whether or not to take action over New Zealand infant formula.
Obviously overnight, Nutricare took Karakia infant formula and follow-on formula off the shelves, so consumers won't be able to buy that inadvertently. We encourage people to continue to do what we've been saying. If they have the product at home, to use an alternative brand, come and get a refund from their supermarket or wherever it might be. And the international markets seem reasonably calm. I mean, the assessment we seem to be getting is that they can understand that we're doing everything we can. They're taking a conservative approach, but they are narrowing in, again, their focus on which particular products they are holding at bay, if you like.
Given that the information keeps changing, how can parents be sure that the information is, or can trust the information?
Well, I think the way to think about it is the regulator, Ministry for Primary Industries, has been much more conservative, arguably, than everybody else has. So pretty much from the get-go, as soon as we got to the point where we could understand this, they put out a statement that essentially said not to use that product in the short term. Look, the company took some time to actually do the full recall. We may have preferred that they did that a little earlier, but anyway, they've got there. The good news is the situation, unlike the previous 2 or 3 days where there was more information coming to hand, is not changing. So my guess is they have sort of narrowed it.
An unnamed 2-year-old child has drowned this afternoon in Lake Wakatipu at Queenstown. A Kelvin Heights resident contacted police just after midday to report her 2-year-old daughter missing. Police located the child at around 12:45, face down in Lake Wakatipu, close to where she was last seen, and although CPR was attempted, the child did not regain consciousness. The matter has been referred to the coroner. Wool contamination is thought to cost the industry millions of dollars each year and is seen as a big opportunity for fibre farmers. Leading into New Zealand's main share, a group of industry representatives have banded together to increase wool growers' bottom line by promoting ways to reduce contamination. Federated farmers have joined forces with the New Zealand Shearing Contractors Association and Scourers to stamp out woolshed contamination and lift New Zealand's wool quality reputation. A quick fix guide called Keep Calm and Shear On has been launched to decrease wool contamination while increasing farm gate prices and wool export quality. It's hoped a series of on-farm checks like clean shearing sheds and accountability of baling and wool shed equipment will help boost profits.
Oh, it's definitely a good idea. There's certainly a contamination, we see it on a daily basis. Right from the time it hits the store, potentially it can damage our machinery, and from there it can go onto the scare and subsequently damage their machinery as well.
What sort of percentage would you say comes in contaminated into the wool store here?
Well, to be fair, it's only sort of what we come across. I wouldn't like to put a figure on it, but certainly we get a lot of feedback from the scares. We actually grab the odd bit ourselves with our grab machine and we pick it up. But ideally it's the scares that pick it up when they open the bales.
And do you have any concerns around the conditions in the actual shearing shed itself?
I think most clients are probably good with regards to their sheds. No one likes to purposely go out to contaminate their bales, but ideally there's always that opportunity, and predominantly it's always press bars or bale hooks, tools of trade that normally end up in picks.
Aside from some suggested standards, is there anything else you think that could improve the contamination issue?
Oh, I think it's just common sense, just making a point of having your work area tidy. We see silly things like towels and cell phones, shoes, all sorts end up in there. But
an unseasonably warm July has set a new record for New Zealand, and in the south, despite much higher rainfall than the July norm, the previous temperature record has been shattered. The mean temperature for the month of July was 7.7 degrees, easily beating the previous high of 6.6 set in 2005, and up an impressive 2.6 degrees on the month's 5.1 degree average. Rainfall was well up for July, with 47.5% more rain recorded than normal, but average sunshine hours were only a fraction less for the month. Meteorologist Andy Fraser of 45 South Weather Services says we have some impressive statistics for July.
Almost all of New Zealand recorded at least higher than usual mean monthly temperatures, and of course Invercargill shattered its previous record, along with many other parts of the South Island.
So what do you put it down to?
Well, if you look carefully at the weather maps over the last month or so, you'll notice that there's a lot of airflows between west and north coming down over New Zealand, with anticyclones locked around northern New Zealand and just to the east of the country, low pressures locked in the Australian bight. We've had a lot of wind flows coming in from northern inland parts of Australia, and I think even the likes of Tasmania and parts of New South Wales have had record or very near record warm temperatures for July. So this is sort of it's all about where the locations of the big pattern weather systems have been for much of the month.
Are we seeing more records being broken as time goes on?
Oh, that's a good question. Records are always going to be broken one way or the other. We have set some cold records in the last 10 years. We've certainly set our fair share of maybe not record high temperatures, but we've got very close to record high temperatures in a few months as well. So when your statistics only go back 60 to 80 years, which is still a lifetime or a little more for most, there's always the opportunity to crack a record somewhere along the way, I believe.
So a mild July, what can we expect for August, do you think?
Very good question. Well, we had slightly milder than normal May, slightly milder than normal June. We've had a very mild July. It'd be hard to bet against another mild one, and that's certainly the trend in the last few days. We're away to a mild start. But seasonal predictions, monthly predictions are going a month or 2 months ahead, very, very difficult. But with a warm start, there's a chance we'll be slightly warmer than normal again.
Stay with us after the break. We look at evidence around petrol price gouging. Welcome back. The New Zealand Institute of Economic Research has conducted research into petrol company pricing policy. Many motorists complain that petrol prices seem to go up quickly as the price of crude oil rises, but are slow to come down when the price drops. The NZIER has run the numbers and found no evidence of opportunistic price gouging on the forecourts of New Zealand petrol stations. Using data from April 2004 to June 2013, the organisation has calculated that if the tax is removed, fuel prices move up and down at roughly the same rate as the New Zealand dollar price of Dubai crude. Planning ahead is the message behind this year's Money Week, an awareness campaign run by the Commission for Financial Literacy and Retirement Income, targeting all income brackets. Banks, investment advisors, insurers and budget advisors are planning activities to increase financial know-how for the week from September 1st. Technology users have an advantage when it comes to budgeting, and this year Simon Tierney of Jubilee Budget Advice says they're taking financial education to techno-savvy students.
When you look at the cost of living, we look at the cost of gassing up your car, paying for registration, those sort of basic things, they have gone up, and it certainly hasn't gone up at the same rate as our income. And what we've seen is, I guess, people have borrowed money from elsewhere, we'll use the credit card to pay for those groceries, but perhaps haven't paid the full credit card balance back that month, and that compounds month after month and almost year after year, and that's where people have lived outside their means. It is a tough one because there's no right answer to say, well, how are you going to juggle? But it just really comes down to actually working out a budget, working out your finances, how much is coming in, how much has got to go out, what are my essentials, can I put things off? Do I have to go out, as often, or can I, have maybe a little less luxury and to stretch that family finances?
Last year you ran some workshops, but this year you're taking a different angle.
Yeah, last year we had sort of a series where we actually sort of tutored people and taught them how to make a budget and how to make it work. But it was a bit more of a lecture. It's a bit more of a come to a class-like setting. And yeah, there's a good time and a place to do that. But this year we just want to create more of an awareness, keep it a bit more fun, keep it a bit more low-key, give people information, and they can sort of follow that up online or come to see us afterwards. Because changing your budget or changing your finances, it could be a a lifelong process for someone, not something that's just going to happen over a few days.
So during Money Week, you're going to be giving some practical applications for people to run through?
Yeah, we'll probably just sort of look at some tips and ideas and useful resources where they can actually follow that up. Sometimes people, it may not be right that moment that they want to find out more about their finance, but we want to create an awareness to think about, hey, how much if you pay a little bit more off your mortgage, how much you can save? What are some tips and ideas about maybe saving money on power or fuel, even groceries, all those sort of basic things that we all are going to be better off with a few decent tips.
And you're heading into schools with some financial literacy around this week?
Yeah, we're sort of thinking about sort of targeting the youth, younger people. Lord knows we all sort of should start off younger, and there's always a big talk about getting sort of financial literacy into schools. And so, yeah, we want to sort of just start with doing that as well. Maybe small, but we want to sort of create an awareness into the primary and secondary. And
as far as online content goes, if people wanting to improve their finances, is there anything in particular that you would recommend for people? Yeah,
a lot of it's getting back to basics. You can get very complicated very quick, and then all of a sudden it gets too hard and thrown out the back door. Start with moneyweek.org.nz. There's a great website there which will sort of show what's happening around the country, and also the Commission's website, which is sorted.org.nz. Fantastic website, and it can lead you to other places as well to get more tips and ideas.
A new dog park for Invercargill is yet to make a start, but it's hoped to have the new facility built by the end of November. The dog park, to be built on the Ellis Road town belt, has been approved by Invercargill City Council in May this year. Contractors and tenders have been sought, and it's expected the 2-acre park will open in spring, depending on weather and ground conditions. Michael Hartstone of ICC says he expects delays between when posts and wire go up and installation of made-to-measure gates. The park's 2 entrances off Ness and Crinan Streets lead to separate fenced areas for small and large dogs to roam. Gaining new reproductive insights into New Zealand's longest living reptile is behind an American vet student's visit to the south. Emily Quass is in the south to study an animal that dates back to the dinosaurs, New Zealand's native reptile, the tuatara. She hopes to broaden her research and believes her interest in reproduction will make a good thesis subject. Ms Quass gained access to study the tuatara in their captive environment after networking with the Helix Fund Trust. The undergraduate student hopes to learn more about animal behaviours such as interaction and nesting characteristics, but admits to having very little experience with reptiles so far.
Right now I'm just sort of observing the behaviour, and my interest might be in sperm and observing the sperm of juvenile tuatara and an older, more infertile tuatara to compare the shape and the structure of it to see what sort of abnormalities lead to infertility.
And what else do you think you might find out as a result of those studies?
We could find out things that cause the animals to be infertile or things that make fertility and reproduction more successful, so we can sort of bring the species back to a more stable number. Besides the sperm, other things I could look at is egg development, and so that would also, it's kind of the other side of reproduction, and there's a lot of variables that go into it, like when the eggs are laid, they absorb different nutrients, and the amount of nutrients and the quality of the nutrients that they get really determine the success rate of the eggs and the reproduction.
And that's all from the news desk this Tuesday. Stay with us for sport with highlights of the Southland District Rugby League final. From the news team, good night.